Welcome, 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 welcome. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to the channel. Welcome. Greetings and welcome to the channel. Happy Friday wherever you are. Can't believe it's already Friday. It is already Friday. Happy Friday wherever you are. And welcome to the channel. Welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about who you think you are versus who you are. Welcome to the channel. Hi Gags. Hi Benjamin. Welcome. We're going to be talking today about the difference between who you think you are versus who you are, particularly after you escape abuse or trauma. Greetings. Hey Joy. Hey Gags. Greetings. Welcome. So that's what we're going to be talking about. The nexus or the difference between who you are compared to who you think you are, and how abuse, all kinds of abuse, including narcissistic abuse, creates this difference between who you are and who you think you are. Hi, Benjamin. Who you are versus who you think you are. This is the focus today. So the whole idea is you're going to leave this live in the next 30, 40 minutes with a renewed perspective, or maybe a confirmation of what you already know about the difference between who you are and who you think you are, Joy. Who am I now after years of abuse? Exactly. That's what we're going to talk about, Joy. So this is what it's about. Come on in. This is a channel for healing and taking over your life like you're supposed to, no longer being a victim, right? Waking up from victimhood to victorhood, right? This is what this channel is about. So again, for those who are just coming in, we're going to be talking about the difference between who you are and who you think you are. Better yet, who you think you are versus who you are. This is going to be the focus. So let's get started, right? So typically, when you go through trauma, the version of yourself conditioned by trauma is a carefully crafted identity to survive abuse. This is where the self gets fractured. And this question of who am I becomes unavoidable when you wake up from your trauma, because for the first time, the person you thought you were begins to crumble. So we're going to explore this from a psychological perspective, from neuroscience and so forth, so that you leave with a clearer understanding of who you are versus who you thought you were. So let me start from a psychological perspective a little bit. So from psychology, it's clear to us that most of us carry multiple versions of ourselves. And typically, after you leave narcissistic abuse, there's a conflict between these versions of yourself. And here I'm going to borrow from the work of Higgins, who wrote on what he called self-discrepancy theory. So here, there is the actual self, which is who you truly are beyond external influences. There's the ideal self, which is who you want to be, shaped by your own values. And there's the ought self, blessed for life. This is who you think you should be, dictated by societal and relational pressures. And when you grow up in a narcissistic family or in a narcissistic relationship, or endure long-term abuse, you adapt and become the ought self, the self that is oriented to what you think you should be for people, dictated by social pressures, right? And this is written about by psychologist R.D. Laing in a book he wrote called The Divided Self. And in that, he argued that those subjected to false relationships develop a false self, or those subjected to abusive relationships develop a false self. And the false self is a persona created to please others and avoid conflict. And over time, this false self becomes so ingrained over time that the real self begins to atrophy. This is how we lose touch with who we are. So I want to go very quickly into how trauma rewires the brain. And yes, you're a different person with all people in your life, and it's very exhausting, blessed for life, which is why you want to retire from that business and come into your true self. So let me show you 3 examples of how narcissistic abuse rewires your brain. Hi, Kia. The first thing it does is it shrinks what's known as your hippocampus. So the hippocampus is the part of your brain that's responsible for memory and self-awareness. I am this person, I am that person, right? But abuse makes it harder for you to remember who you are and why you love certain things because the hippocampus becomes shrinked by prolonged stress. So that's the first. The second is, so the hippocampus is for memory. The second way it affects your brain is by making your amygdala hyperactive. So the amygdala is the part of your brain that is for fear, right? Hi, do. So when you live in a constant state of hypervigilance and you cannot trust your perceptions, it leads to creating of a trauma identity because your fear amygdala is at a high level. It's overstimulated. Then the final example of how it reshapes your brain is what it does to your prefrontal cortex. This is all psychology. We haven't even gone to the spiritual yet. Hi, Charles. In the prefrontal cortex, this is the part of your brain that enables logic, critical thinking, and self-reflection. Under sustained abuse becomes shrunk. It shrinks. So you're not able to even think critically. This is why after you leave the narcissist, it's very hard to restore your true self, right? So we know that this is well known in spiritual traditions. For example, in Hinduism, it's called Maya. There's illusions, but the illusions have a real impact on our minds. But we know that there's a way to escape this blessed for life. I feel like it also affects the part of the brain that's in charge of articulation. It's all the rational, it's all of it. So let me give you some signs that shows how you can escape this spell that's done to your brain. From a quantum physics standpoint, and lately quantum physics has taken over Newtonian physics because Newtonian physics was all about what you can observe, whereas quantum physics shows that the thing observed is changed by the observer, which is very paradigm shifting. So a lot of you may already be familiar with what's called the double slit experiment. In that experiment, subatomic particles behave differently depending on whether they were observed or not observed. What does this mean? What does this mean to you and I? It means your identity is not fixed. Your identity is shaped by what you focus on. Therefore, when you are under narcissistic control, your awareness was hijacked. So the critique, the gaslighting, and the distortions that you experienced became the lens through which you saw yourself. And the moment you consciously observe yourself from a place of truth, which is the double slit experiment or the observer effect, that changes. So the point I'm hoping that you're walking away with is that the false self is not real. But the false self was made real under the illusion of the constant abuse that you were under, right? And everything that I've just explained to you about how narcissistic abuse gets you to this adaptive place of creating a false identity that's separate from your true identity is what actually brings you to your true identity. And your true identity is a point of becoming what is often regarded as becoming born again, right? Born again. It's often said, let me borrow from the Christian cosmology, that unless one is born again, one cannot see the kingdom of God within, right? It's also similar in Gnostic conversations where the whole idea of born again is rooted in the Greek word anothen, which means from above or from a higher place. So you realize that until you begin to see yourself from a higher place, which is your true self, not the adaptive place or your ought to self, you're going to remain trapped in the false self. And as long as you're trapped in the false self, you're still resonant to the abuse that you experienced under that false self. This is also talked about in the concept of anatta in Buddhism. Anatta means there's no permanent self. And the whole idea of Buddhism is to detach yourself from all attachments and the ego. That detachment, and in the Dhammapada it says, just as a snake sheds its skin, one must abandon all attachments to be free. And what's the attachment you're abandoning here? It's the attachment to approval, the attachment to external validation, the attachment to people giving opinions on things that only you as a sovereign being can give opinions about in regards to your life, the attachment to chaos, the attachment to low self-esteem, the attachment to the programs that told you you were not who you're going to be. And this is how do you heal your brain after psychological abuse? That's what we're talking about, is to go through a phase of reprogramming. And reprogramming starts with awareness, blessed for life. It starts with the awareness that the reason why you were subject to abuse was because you were living in the false self. And as long as you're living in the false self, you are subject to the rules of narcissistic abuse. So awareness that you're in the false self is the first step. Then the next step is to realize that the false self was based on a program. Because who taught you what your original fears were? Who taught you your first language? Who taught you your first values? That's the program. Now, I'm not saying everything you taught was good or bad. I'm just showing you how programs are transferred from person to person to person. You see, Isura, I really don't understand your question. Can you be clear on the question? Have you ever been a narcissist? I really don't understand it at all. Angie Bailey, so will your brain regenerate the parts that are affected? Absolutely. Just like you practiced putting your brain under stress, affecting your amygdala, more fear, your hippocampus, no rational thoughts, right? The same way when you start to reprogram, you reduce the cortisol that's produced by your affectations through negativity. That increases how much dopamine you create, the feel-good chemical within you. And the more you're oriented towards creating goodness within you and realizing that your reality is strictly shaped by your awareness, if you can connect to it. And the way you connect to it is to begin to imbibe and use affirmations, because it's affirmations unconsciously used that made your brain create the false self that made you oriented to abuse. So similarly, affirmations consciously created shifts you out of this, but you have to persist with this, because the biggest warfare you would ever experience, thank you, Kia, when you escape narcissistic abuse is not the warfare of the memory of what you experienced. It's actually the warfare between your old self and the new self. That's the biggest warfare. In other words, it supports the point that once the enemy within is defeated, there's no enemy without. So the only way people are able to program you and abuse you is because you have an enemy within you, Angie. What do you mean you're there now? Say more, Angie. Tell me what you mean. That you have the energy within you, right? And the energy within you is where the battle happens. This is where you begin to struggle between your old self and your new self. And typically, because you've practiced being the old false self for so long, you realize that it has very powerful energetic signature that resists creating conditions for you to embrace the new self. This is why a lot of people give up, because the moment you tell yourself, I'm a new self, you're going to get a test. And this test is going to smack you in the face and wake you up to reality to see if you're going to remain in this good vibration mode. And so long as you remain unshifted by reality, but in this good vibrational mode, knowing that everything is an inside game, then you've passed the test. But a lot of people under stress will go back to what used to be because they think that where they are is not currently working. Kia, what's on your mind, Kia? I want to hear from you. So this is how the thing works. When there's no enemy within, the enemy without can do you no harm. Blessed for life. That's exactly the point. But it's very hard to see because we make other people the enemy. But the reason why you can make other people the enemy is because an enemy still exists in you. And the moment you have no more enemies to display inside you, no enemies outside you can have access to destroy you. They can try, as the saying goes, weapons will form, but they will not prosper. So you realize that the biggest enemy to fight is your own reflections within. And if the reflections are showing back to you relationships that increase your trauma, increase your fear, it's because your programs, the programs from your reality are still running rampant. And those programs are based on your false self. And that false self was based on the conditioning that told you that you were not enough. Well, I mean, think about that. The enemy within comes from conditioning. It's conditioning you away from the true self, right? And I want to hear more from you, Blessed Fly. Maybe I'll invite you and we can we can answer some of your questions, right? This is where it all comes from, right? So for this is the whole point, that there is an origin and a cause, and the proof of conditioning. Some conditioning is okay. In other words, how do you learn a language? How do you learn that the pot is hot when it's on the stove, right? That's conditioning. But the kind of conditioning that reduces you and shifts you away from your true self into an adaptive self that shrinks is what we're talking about. And typically, that kind of conditioning is passed on from parent to child, from parent to child, from parent to child, until the black sheep of the scapegoat starts to investigate and says, why is this happening? I can't do this anymore. Why is this happening? And that's when you start to hit the nexus of becoming born again. This is how you shift from the old paradigm to the new paradigm. This is how you shift from becoming an enemy to yourself to becoming a friend to yourself. You see, that's all right. So the moment you become a friend to yourself, no one can be an enemy to you. Because the reason why abuse persists is that abusers come from a place of feeling abused, which is why they abuse. So if you no longer feel pain from a place of being abused, what do you offer? Love, understanding. This is the whole key. This is how you reverse this generational cycle. Because the generational cycle is a set of programs that persist, which creates this long-term spell. And to wake up from that spell is to wake up and ask yourself the question, what is the difference between who I am and who I think I am? What is the difference between who I am and who I think I am? Who I think I am is based on the program. And so long as you're looking at the world from who you think you are, there's going to be conditions and distortions. But the moment you say to yourself, I am no longer going to look at the world from the position of who I think I am, but I'm going to look at the world from the position from the place of how it is, from the place of who I am, not who I think I am. When you go looking at it from a place of who I am, not who I think I am, you begin to see things as they are. And the ability to see things as they are is tantamount to being an awakened being. Because when you see things as they are, you're not adding distortions, Kia. Every time I lean in and let those who aren't for me go, I immediately feel a blessing. This is how it works. It's about balance. It's all about balance. You see, in ancient Egypt, in the law of ancient Egypt, which is also known as Kemet, every evening there's this notion that one should go before a scale. And on the scale, on the left side is a feather. And then what you do is you symbolically take your heart and put it on the right side. And if for some reason your heart is heavier than the feather, it means you didn't have a successful day. Now think about it. What makes your heart heavier than the feather? What makes your heart, that's really nice, I like that. What makes your heart heavier than the feather? Unforgiveness. How do you know the difference between who you are for real as opposed to who you think you are? I'll go through this again. So I can answer this from a psychological perspective, and I'll give full credit to the person who came up with this. So there was a study in a book done by Tori Higgins, titled Self-Discrepancy Theory. In that, this doctor found out that there are three selves that we aspire to be. There's the actual self, who you truly are beyond external influence. There's the ideal self, who you aspire to be, shaped by your own values, or your true self. And then there's the ought self, which is who you think you should be, dictated by societal and relational pressures, right? So those are the differences. Now, based on the differences I just offered you, the ideal self is based on a program. The ought self is based on a program. And so long as you're operating based on a program, you don't see things as they are. So the reality is to shift from these adaptive selves to recognizing that you do have a true, beautiful self, something you've been programmed not to recognize and pay homage to. This is why you create these adaptations. This is why you feel discomfort when you engage with certain people. Does this answer your question, dude? Or if you want to come on live, please do that. Rebecca, just had one, hola, treasure star. I just had one of the worst experiences of my life with a narcissist. It's so hard to pick yourself. What happened, Rebecca? Maybe we'll just invite you and talk about it and just get it off your chest. What happened to you? What happened to this narcissist? If you're comfortable, tell us more. Right? It empowered me big time, Tony. And as I was in control, it empowered me big time as I was in control. I was right with many confirmations. I want to hear from you as well, Tony. But let's start with our dear sister here, Rebecca. Hi, Rebecca.
Hello, so nice to talk to you.
It's always a pleasure to hear a voice from different parts of the world. Tell us, what happened to you?
So I dealt with what I would probably class as a spiritual narcissist.
Mm-hmm.
So he would mask it as trying to help me, which kind of sent me down a very dark path.
Yeah.
Also at the time had a lot of my own psychic abilities coming in, which was very hard to deal with. And I don't know, it's really hard to put it into words, like what they actually do, where do you start, where do you begin? Because there's just so many elements of the different tactics that they have. And I'm still just confused, to be honest, with the whole situation. It's like you see them wear a mask. It's like one minute they're this, lovely person, and they're, he would use spirituality as a way to say all these really beautiful things that just aligned with me.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the next sense, it's like they can't maintain that facade. And it's just, it's like you see a demon in front of you.
Because it is a demon in front of you.
Like, it's terrifying.
Do you know why he came into your life, or should I tell you?
Oh, please tell me.
Because you said he's a spiritual narcissist. He came into your life because when he met you, he got a sense of your wounds, which is what attracted him to you, because you're both attracted to each other's wounds. So you fell in hate, not in love. But deeper than that is he sensed your intuitive and spiritual gifts. And usually the empath is the last to find out the true extent of our gifts. So you realize that there was a karmic contract. He came into you to try to siphon that energy for himself, but you caught on to it. Am I making this up, Rebecca?
Oh no, you sound very spot on.
So what is this telling you?
I had someone that tried to destiny swap with
You said it. I didn't say you said it. Do you see how long did you know him for?
It's been about 2.5 years now. Of everything that's gone on, but it's just been to be honest, it's helped me deal with a lot of my shadow side, because they use everything against you, and some of the stuff that they say, I would react quite badly to the things that he would say. He would use my wounds as a way to make me react, and I was quite a reactive person. I couldn't control my anger.
Mm-hmm.
So it has given me a level to be able to fix that now, where I could be in a room with someone like that, and I would know not to react, because they thrive off the attention that they get. But
how did you used to react? I'm curious.
I would scream and shout, and sometimes I'd smash things. It was kind of like reactive abuse.
Yeah. You see what he did to you? And then when you do that, what would he do?
He would go, "Look, I'm right about you now."
Oh, you fell for the
trap.
You fell for the trap. That was the point. Because what he did on purpose was to get under your skin so deeply, up to a point where it becomes unsustainable. And when it becomes unsustainable, I talked about this in the beginning. Your amygdala, which is a place of fear, gets heightened, so you're more afraid than usual. Then remember, your hippocampus, the place for rational thought, is also suppressed, so you're not thinking rationally. And if you're not thinking rationally, you're afraid. That's how the spell works, because abuse does not work without fear. So the whole goal was to put you in balance on the fear, and anytime you reacted, that gave him maximum supply and took you off your path. Do you see how this over time actually ends up being a full destiny swap?
Well, it's quite funny as well, because I've been coming into my gifts now, and I've actually been making some videos on my TikTok, and they've been getting some views and some recognition, and he's been doing the same, but he hasn't, like, nothing he touches ever materializes in any way. Like,
because he is, a narcissist is firmly rooted in maximizing the false self, and the false self needs a real self to be. So he found you as the perfect target. Let me ask you this: how's your relationship with your parents?
It's been a bit rocky.
Okay, there you go. So even without going into details, I know that you've been walking a tightrope your whole life. And this is how he came into your life, to show you how to wake up from that tightrope. This is it. It's as simple as that. And the beautiful thing is, you are awakened, you're making your videos, you're putting your message out, which shows that you are at a point of healing because you're sharing. But he came to reveal to you the final parts of yourself that you were self-rejected, so you can embody full self-love. Am I making this up?
No, you're on point.
Now I can tell that you're even as talkative as you are, you're shell-shocked. You're not talking much. What are you feeling right now?
I think the hardest part to deal with is, like, once you have seen so much evil in another person, it just kind of, like, I've got to the point where I isolate myself a lot, and I don't want to now be around other people. Like, if I go out in public, I have panic attacks because I'm just so scared of, like, I don't know, it's just really traumatized me.
Do you know why that is, or should I tell you?
Please tell me.
So when you wake up to narcissistic abuse, it's to wake up to the true nature of the way the earth functions. And this earth is the hell realm. In the hell realm, with free will, what people can choose to be good or bad. So waking up from the veil is to realize that most people are either narcissistic, or what my 16-year-old son calls have become non-player characters, right? So, in the Stanford prison experiment, this man, Zimbardo at Stanford, found out that you can get people to do anything as long as it comes from an authority figure. This is the whole world. The whole world is programmed. So to wake up from your programming is to see behind the Wizard of Oz, the curtain, to see that there's no real person, there's just a tiny thing that is masquerading as this giant. And also you become very sensitive to energies, especially negative energies as an empath. And if you have deep intuitive abilities, that's what you're picking up on. So you're still going through integration, the integration of waking up to the reality that you are surrounded by the hell realm. Am I being dramatic, Rebecca?
No, you're spitting facts.
This is the whole deal. So what I'll say to you is embrace where you are and understand that you cannot ascend to the full majesty of your calling if you're still connected to narcissists.
I think as well, like, I really want to be able to help others and speak my truth, but I still feel a bit afraid of this person, because it's like, the situation was, it didn't matter what I did or how much I fixed myself. Everything was still always my fault. And while you're stood there and you're defending them to the people around you, they've already created this story to the people around them about how,
let me interrupt you, my guest. Let me ask you a question, right? You can ask me a question too. Let me ask you a question. Do you like yourself?
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
I do, yeah.
Do you love yourself?
Yeah.
So then ask me the same question.
Do you like
Without a doubt. Again, another question.
You love yourself.
Oh my goodness. What else? Look at me. Look at this. So I'm going to ask you again. Do you love yourself?
Hell yeah.
Good. So why are you still connected to a narcissist?
I think it's more of an energetic bond, and where we had some similarities with the spiritual.
Let me ask you another question. What do you feel when you're with a narcissist?
On edge.
Okay. What kind of relationship is this? Is this an intimate, loving relationship or just a friendship?
It was a loving relationship.
So What are you supposed to feel when you're in a loving relationship?
Peace and calm.
And love, no?
Hmm.
What do you feel when you're with said Mr. Loverman?
I just feel like it's waiting for them to have their ego upset for any reason.
So
like,
what do you feel when you're with him?
Anxious, like I can't be my authentic self.
Thank you. What should a loving relationship make you feel like?
Loved and peaceful.
So are you in a loving relationship?
No.
Shoot. And you're playing this game, Rebecca?
No, I already know that. It's just, I think for me, it's more of the aftermath. It's like, it's picking myself up after I've had this awful experience, and then you're left so confused, like, how did this happen? Like,
Yeah, exactly. Because you came in with a true love and you loved him, and everything you felt for him, you actually just felt in love with yourself. Because what the narcissist does is mirrors back to you exactly what you want. So you were never really in love with the narcissist. You fell in love with the image he created based on what he picked up from you. So that's the first thing. And someone else said it here that it's a trauma bond. That's the second thing. And the reason why you're still connected to it is because you are still in the process of loving yourself. Because when you have fully reached the place of loving yourself, of course, there's still degrees of love. But when you are in a place of self-love with yourself, any relationship that does not make you feel love is a relationship that becomes quickly dispensable. Am I making this up? Am I just talking to myself?
no, I know.
Because if I love myself and you're going to be disrespectful to me, not in the way that I treat myself, what am I doing to myself?
Mm. Can I ask you as well, like, how do they pick their victims? They pick them because these are wounded individuals, or they have characteristics that they might.
They pick their victims because they can also sense your wounds and your empathy. And they sense that if you're in your right mind, you will never be with them because their perception of themselves is they are nothing, because they are nothing. So because you're giving them attention, not being able to see the scam that they're propagating, they begin to believe that you don't see your value. It's just like casting your pearl before swine. If you don't see your value, then you are to be manipulated to the maximum extent. Remember, you are also attracted to him based on your perspective of his wounds. Because I haven't even asked you about him. But if I was to conjecture, he comes from a broken, destroyed background. He's probably told you some of his exes were insane. Am I just talking to myself?
Well, the broken background, but he's never said anything bad about his exes.
Yes.
I used to wonder, is it just me? Am I just the only one that used to say, I've never had this issue with anyone else?
No. So with a narcissist usually has a trail of dead bodies before they met you. The narcissist is usually undefeated. Because it's very difficult to figure out what narcissistic abuse is. This is why most of us figure it out in retrospect, you see. So what you're dealing with is the recognition that what you thought it was not. And it's very hard to reconcile that because you think everybody's like you. And you're waking up to the reality that the people like you are like the people on this live. We are few and far between. Majority of the people on the earth are victims because the virus of victimhood spreads. Somebody hurts me, then I hurt the next person. So nobody takes the time to say, no, something is wrong with this picture, which is why, but we all lie and pretend. This is Don Miguel Ruiz. He says we all lie and pretend. We pretend so well to be nice, but there's no kindness in our hearts. So when you wake up from narcissistic abuse, you realize that you made an assumption thinking everyone was like you, when the reality is being an empath puts you in a true minority, because an empath is a truly kind, authentic person, and particularly truly kind and empathic after healing, right? And you're realizing that most people in the world are not that way because the world is a toxic one. It's a world of conditions. And we are here as way showers, and our ability to show the way is equal and tantamount to how much wickedness and suffering we go through and overcome. Because the wickedness and suffering that we go through only continues because wickedness and suffering exist in us. So you realize that the test is to excise wickedness and suffering from you, so you're no longer resonant to that. And that journey is a very difficult one, which is why at the end of it, most of us become light workers. Am I just entertaining myself?
No, I understand what you're saying.
This is the story.
It's
So
just so difficult.
it is, of course it is. Well, why do you think you've been picked for this job?
I know, but it's such a big role sometimes. I'm just like, oh,
You know what is happening to you? Do you know what I sense is happening to you?
what?
Your mind and self-doubt, and you don't even yet have an image of yourself that sees your true self as you are.
Mm.
So do you want to ask me a question about how I see myself? Let me just show you.
How do you see yourself?
I am a representative of the all. The all lives in me. I am the all,
You are the all.
and so are you. The difference is I don't believe it, I know it.
Mm.
Are you looking at me?
I'm listening.
Very
I'm
good.
listening to your wise words.
The wisdom is in you as well. That's why you hear it, because we are reflections of each other. So what I want to leave you with, Rebecca, is to understand the roots of your doubts and know that your doubts come from the program. And once you realize that your doubts are an illusion, you will set yourself free, because when you begin to treat yourself from a place of self-love, you notice it when someone doesn't treat you from a place of love. And your self-respecting nature will not put up with that crap, unless you want to put up with it.
No.
You see what I'm saying? So you're in a difficult place. Your eyes are opening, and it's very painful to have your eyes open. But let me just leave you with a word of encouragement. I went through it, and most people on this live, whether it's on YouTube or TikTok or wherever, also went through it. So what does this tell you? You're not alone.
Mm.
You're not alone.
And that's why I'm so grateful for your TikTok, because you really put it in such great words for us all. So thank you.
And thank you. We wouldn't be here if you weren't here. So as I often like to use this Ram Dass quote, we're each walking each other home.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I'm sending you peace and light and lots of love. Yes?
Thank you. God bless you guys.
I receive. One love, one love, one love. You see, this is the whole thing, Global. Facts and information are not the same. That's right. Information can be distorted. Facts are facts. Capital T, truth is truth, right? So this is what it is, my friends, my family. Teddy, what do I mean by a light worker? It's a person who works with light, a person who turns their darkness into light. That's what it means. Does that resonate with you, Teddy? Have you been through darkness? Tell me more about your experience. But this is what it is. So the whole idea is to win back your righteous mind and your heart. Exactly, Blessed for Life. We are all sovereign. We are all made in the image. There's no one higher or lower. And anyone who purports to be higher is part of the matrix. We're all on the level. Of course, there's levels in the level, but we're all on the level. Do you see? We're all beginners. Anyone who purports to be an expert is not. We're all beginners. There's always something to learn, something to know. So that's the whole story, right? Lie, cheat to make it easier, Global. You said it. So you realize that the narcissist is very adept at manipulating your mind. In a way, you would think they went through a boot camp for it, but actually they did. They went through darkness boot camp for it. They were trained by other narcissists on how to become a narcissist. Blessed for Life, can a narcissist heal? Actually, I think for an empath, this question is very unimportant, because it's unimportant in that the only healing that an empath should be concerned about is their own healing. Now, let me answer the question more directly. Can a narcissist heal? Well, anything is possible, because narcissists are also children of the divine, right? But when you read most of the academic journals leave you with three options to deal with narcissists: no contact, yellow, or gray rock. That's it. They don't talk about treatment. So you realize that this is where it shifts from the psychological to the spiritual. And the spiritual domain, narcissists are high-ranking demons who embody the Jezebelian spirit and the spirit of the archons. So when you free yourself from a narcissist, the best thing to do is not to look back. if that's available to you. Of course, everyone's circumstances are different, blessed for life. But the military teaches leave no one behind. Well, we leave the narcissist with the example of what's possible, but it's not our job to save them, right? Oh, Global, you said it. Now, if the narcissist came to you honestly to help them, that's one thing, like Global just said. And the same way on the spiritual journey, you don't want to be a preacher. As a light worker, your message is only for those you create the invitation, and those who accept the invitation or who are assigned to you come to it. But you're not here trying to preach to people who are not interested in hearing it. So that's a bit of the story there. I don't know if this resonates, right? Tony, Gen X, those who believe they're above the rest are narcissists with superiority complexes. So well said. So well said. We're all the same. We're all unique in that there's no one like you, but we're also made in the image of the divine, as above, so below. So we're all stardust. So if you're a star, I'm a star, because that's true. Or Tony, am I just talking to myself? Kia, you said to leave them right where they are, especially your doppelganger sister and the other one who's trying to steal your thunder, Kia. Not to put you out there, but I'm just saying, you just leave them, no matter how much you love them, that it isn't your job to try to save them, right? We feel bad for them, blessed, because we are empaths, and also because of the previous trauma bond. And an empath is always oriented towards kindness. This is why you can't do anything about it. And remember, even after you've escaped narcissistic abuse, you should be incapable of hating anyone, including your abusers, because the moment you hate them, you become like them. So loving even your abusers is non-negotiable. Now, liking them or wanting to be with them and reconcile with them, that's another matter. I'm not interested in that. I know that personally, right? Speaking as a person, even though there's no person, right? So you realize that the whole idea is to cut, Kia. I love this scissors. Cut. Bipolar teddy bear, what it is. Laura, literally, we were incapable of saving an soul but our own. That's right. And when you save your soul, you are proof that it is possible. So those who are trying to can save their souls as well. You see, the whole idea is to become a lighthouse, an example, a living stone, not a preacher. Because everybody preaches. It's easy. Everybody has an opinion. But very few people embody and realize the truth and live from the place of truth. You see, that's the whole kit and caboodle. Teddy Lorraine, although I've left that relationship, moved on with my life, I still have to fight for custody. I know you still have to fight for custody, and most narcissists will try to use the court system against you, right? But you have to decide what your boundaries are and stick to those boundaries. So how do you communicate with this person, Teddy? Do you want to come in and let's talk about it before I go? Maybe we can, because I've been there. I've been divorced, and so I understand what you're dealing with, and maybe we can help you. It's easier probably if you talk. Hey, Sabraha, Global, the residue of a bad experience stays with us to learn. Exactly. And once we learn, we transmute that energy. So wisely said, right? So this is the whole, his narcissistic behavior makes his ongoing involvement it is difficult, but it becomes more difficult, Teddy, if you don't have boundaries and a clear understanding that the narcissist is oriented towards misunderstanding you. And we use the court system, if you don't have boundaries, to stretch this out. Space Indigo, yes, they'll use the court always against. That's what they do. That's why you either need a lawyer who's an expert in dealing with what's called high conflict divorces. Because when you say narcissism in the courts, you get laughed at. So you want a lawyer who knows about high conflict divorces. And if the lawyer doesn't know about high conflict divorces, you want to get a second opinion, Teddy, right? And you want to be very disciplined in your messaging. So you have to decide, are you using phones? Are you using text messaging? Are you using emails? And stick to that. And realize that the narcissist is always looking for supply. So are you still giving supply, or are you practicing gray rock? These are all questions for you to think about, right? This is all questions for you to think. I've been going to court for 5 years with his high-paying lawyers, Mama Reaper. What happened? Do you want to talk about this, Mama Reaper? Maybe if you feel like it and you want to put it out there, let's hear your story. And Global, we shed the skin of our old behaviors and adapt to a new world. That's exactly it. Mama Reaper, how you doing?
Hello.
Hi. So tell us, what you since you've been through a lot, tell us about it.
Oh my gosh, I found you, and just like whenever you start your videos, like it just so healing. I'm coming hopefully to the end of my this divorce has been dragged out for like 5 years.
Wow.
I was married for 10. When we met, we were neighbors, and then he ended up joining the military. And it was like after, like, he was a three-time combat vet. And so it was like after every one, he just kind of got a little bit worse and worse. And before I married him, I was like, you know, he was adopted, he was abused, this and that. I felt so sorry for him. And it was so crazy because finally when I divorced, like, I stayed silent for 10 years. And I just always thought that's what a wife is supposed to do. And since I was a Marine wife, like, he would strangle me in my sleep and stuff. So I would sleep in a separate room. And we thought, you know, we were kind of dealing with the issue on our own. And he would only give me like $500 for the entire month when I was a stay-at-home mom. And that was for food, groceries, soap, you know, anything and everything. And so when, like, I would run out of food before the end of the month, he would be like, well, you don't know how to budget, you know? And like, I would have to go drive an hour to the army base to go get a box of food.
Wow. And
like, nobody in my family knew that any of this was happening. And then he finally decided after the Marines to join a private like security for like diplomats and stuff. Yeah. And he came back after 3 weeks of training as violent and, you know, as if he went to war. And he ended up strangling me, but while he was awake. And at the time, my brother had left everything, and he left Vegas, brought his whole family to come get me out of the marriage. And he came and he said, you know, I knew it was bad, but not this bad. He was like, he has total mind control of you. And I didn't even know it. And I didn't want to tell my brother at the time that I got strangled because I knew he was going to confront him. Mm-hmm. And my husband, he was not only is he a Marine, but he was an interrogator. Mm. He also trained other Marines how to basically, you know, hurt people with their hands or anything around them. So and for like family time, he would take me, my brother's kids, and he would tie us up with like zip ties to a chair and put on like a baby crying and then just leave us there until we could break out of it. And that was like family time, you know, and there's just so many things and I kept quiet for like so many years. And it's like, I'm trying to find a community because my brother didn't believe me at first. His dad was a preacher, and I tried it. And I told him in front of other Marine veterans what his son was doing to me. And his dad's friends had even told me, one of them told me, oh, you sound like my first wife, and I divorced her, or she divorced me. And then his dad just made me feel like I'm turning my back on God, that I'm sinning against God. But I really felt like the Holy Spirit told me he's not capable of loving me. And his dad tried to twist it around and say, no, you didn't listen to the Holy Spirit right. He said the Holy Spirit told you he's not capable of loving you yet. And I thought, yeah, he had 10 years of my life.
Wow. So why is the divorce taking so long?
Because he wanted to take full custody of the kids, even though he works in another country most of the year. And like the moment that I told him I wanted a divorce, the first thing out of his mouth, he said, I'm going to do everything in my power to take those kids away from you. And he's making $40,000 a month as we speak. So I live in California now. I had to move back with my mom. I took my 2 kids. I got on a plane. I had a 2-story, 4-bedroom house. I just sold it yesterday. I left everything there because he wants to use the house to take the kids away. He's forced me to sign the kids over for like summertime, and then he left them there. And then when I went to go pick up my kids, he took me back to court and accused me of kidnapping my kids.
I see.
So what you're talking about, it hits home so much because he has been using this court system and these high-paying lawyers. He used an OC lawyer, and then he used one in like this downtown area. And yes, they will take everything that you use, every text message, everything, and they will flip it around against you.
Ooh, this is intense. This is intense. Can I ask you a couple of questions just for the sake of time?
Yes.
How do you communicate with him?
I just recently made it to just being like in between either me and his lawyer or the real estate agent. Because like just for the house, like last year, I was going to just give him the house. And so he on the phone, if I can't be on the phone with him because he could still manipulate me and threaten me. And he made me sign over 60% of the house to him.
Yeah.
And then also he told me on the phone that he had people from his job following me and taking pictures of me at work.
Okay, so here it is, right? Do you know why his intimidation tactics still work against you?
No.
It's because you believe you're powerless. And because you believe you're powerless, you have no boundaries.
But that's the part that I'm so scared to go to court. And
you believe you are powerless. He's convinced you using psyops to convince you you're powerless. But I'm hearing your voice, and I'm hearing an intelligent, clear thinker who sees everything. So who's making this real? He has convinced you that you are powerless. That's why you get on the phone. He's intimidated because he's an evil intimidator.
Yes. And I'm scared because last time he got angry at me like 2 years ago, and thankfully I was at work and he showed up at my bedroom. And my brother has a pit bull, and it's amazing how animals know what's going on because she's the one who ended up barking at him to leave. And so like I just scared that he's gonna come back and like take my life, you know?
Yeah. So now somebody put in the chat restraining order. So I want to just leave you with something here. That let me ask you a question.
Yes.
Do you believe he's stronger than you?
Yes.
Do you believe he's smarter than you?
No.
Do you believe he has more resources and more tricks up his sleeve?
Yes.
Do you believe he can checkmate you?
Yes and no.
Okay, that your answer is yes. So right now you've just confirmed that you have made yourself afraid of him based on the practice.
Very afraid.
And let me ask you this. What was your relationship like growing up with your own father?
I actually was best friends with my father, and we had an excellent relationship. But the only thing is that my father used to scream every single day at my mother.
Okay, just stop right there, my dear. You see what has happened? So for you, abuse is normalized.
Yes.
So you grew up thinking that what he was doing was endemic of love. This is the program. I'm trying to tell you something that's deep in your subconscious mind, that in your mind, because of what you saw, you had a violent father, an abusive father who could be charming. So you believed that if your husband was that way, it might be because he loved you. That's what husbands were supposed to. I'm just telling you about the conditioning, not you. Am I
much about the conditioning? Because I always thought that husbands just scream at their wives
Thank
behind
you.
closed doors.
You just said it. So now, who's making you afraid?
I'm still scared of him because he has access to like a lot of weapons, and he's been to my house.
No.
And
Why did he come to your house? Where are your boundaries, my dear sister, mama?
So the problem is I live with my mom,
yes.
And my mom opened up the door for him.
So it's because you are in a. Let me tell you what your core challenge is. You want to hear it?
Yeah.
Your core challenge is that you have convinced yourself that you are powerless. And let me tell you how powerful you are. You're so powerful that you believe in your powerlessness. You're making it real.
Oh.
Let me give you a secret. You know, my second wife came from a lot of resources, but couldn't beat me. You know why?
Why?
Look at me. Just look at me. This is why. Just look straight at my face.
Yeah, there's no fear. No fear at all.
And do you know how you lose your fear?
I don't know how.
By being in a place of gratitude. So let me show you how to do that now. I want you to think of, don't speak it, with your permission only. Can I proceed with your permission?
Oh, yes, please.
I want you to think of one thing you're truly grateful of right now, silently. and then confirm it with your breath. And for anyone listening, you can try this too. Now, think about a second thing you're grateful for. I'm doing it too. And truly understand why you're grateful for it. And I can express mine. Mine is the gratitude of being in a space with everyone here right now. Now, let me ask you a question. How does your body feel as you're practicing gratitude right now?
Oh, I could just literally feel like this darkness kind of like leaving my body and being filled with like peace.
You are just moving on with a secret sauce. The way you fight your fear is to orient towards gratitude. And anytime you feel fear, think gratitude thoughts, you start to defeat your gratitude because you cannot be afraid when you're grateful. Look at me. You cannot be afraid when you are grateful. And that gratitude also includes gratitude for an ex-narcissistic spouse because I would not be awakening without you. Am I talking to myself, Mama?
Oh, no, I'm listening.
You cannot be afraid when you are grateful.
Oh.
You cannot be afraid. Your fear cannot sustain itself when you're grateful. Why? Because fear creates cortisol. Gratitude creates dopamine. Cortisol, fear of flight. Dopamine, feel good. That's the basic science. I'm not even going spiritual. Do you see what I'm trying to tell you? Use the 4 leaves.
Yeah.
Isabel, do you see what it is? Space Indigo, Global, Dawn Marie. So stop convincing yourself that you are an ant when you are a lion.
Yeah, and I never saw myself like that because I've been bullied like my whole life.
Look at me. If you never see me again, just remember that this strange person on TikTok or YouTube told you you are a lion. You know why I know you're a lion?
What's that?
Because I am you.
Wow.
I am you. And the devil doesn't want to release you from your spiritual slavery. You are under acute spiritual slavery. So it uses fear. So the moment you tell this man, I'm not afraid of you, and from now on, we only communicate via text or email, he will go into what's called, he's already in narcissistic rage. The rage precedes the collapse. And this will be the first time he's ever been defeated by a true lion of the Almighty.
Wow.
Yeah. I've stayed on longer past my scheduled time just because I want to land this with you. Now I'm dealing with you on a human level, a spiritual level.
I feel it down to my soul.
Oh, I feel it too, Mama Reaper. And remember why you call yourself Mama Reaper. Because you've got the spirit of the Grim Reaper, the dark empath within you to destroy evil. Oh, you didn't hear me. You didn't. Am I talking to myself, Mama Reaper?
No.
I've done my job.
Yes, you have. Thank you so much.
I want to thank you for receiving. This is your thing is gonna be over in less than a year, even though you've been suffering for 5 years. And I'm not saying this because I'm a prophet. I'm saying this because I can tell your mind is awakened. And once you've awakened to your Reaper power, I feel bad for this motherfucker. Excuse my language.
Wow.
Excuse my language. And for anyone I offended with that word, I'm so sorry. But I had to say that to Mama Reaper.
That was my dad talking.
Shit.
My dad talked to me.
So you're my sister, and we're in this together. And I just want to send you one love. But before you go, what closing comments do you have before you head off?
I just really, really, really thank you so much, brother. You have opened up my heart and you really helped me see myself in a different way because I have been the prey and I've been living in fear for so long. And I never would have thought of myself as the lion.
Okay. That's who you are.
And after seeing your eyes, I believe I can live without fear. That's amazing.
And I want you to come back anytime. We're usually here 3 times a week. Come back anytime. I'm just doing my job. And if you want a longer session, you can book a complimentary session on my website. We can speak for half an hour. That's available to you as well. But you're not alone. You've already won. Victory is yours. Tell your mind that. That's how you reprogram. This is not religious. This is about reprogramming. And do what Blessed for Life says. Right.
Yes.
Oh my sister, Mama Reaper. Know who you are, a dark empath. And I feel sorry for this man because he's about to start feeling the impact of karma. Divine karma. So we're all with you.
It's about time.
We're all with you. And remember, before you go, I'll leave you on one thing. That it's important that you remain blameless. In other words, think no evil, feel no evil, speak no evil.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much. Truly appreciate you.
I appreciate you. Yes. Enjoy the weekend. Yeah. Sending you peace and love. Yeah, man.
Love you.
Love you too. Yeah, man. So family, that's the message. That's the message. That's the challenge. You know, let's just stay blameless and know that we are covered by the light of the Almighty. We are covered by the light of the Almighty, that nobody can stop us. And the Almighty I speak up about is the power within you. It's the power within you. You see, the power within you that cannot be surpassed by anyone or anything. You see? So, on that note, I'll leave you with this closing song. This is Roller Skates by Steel Pulse. Roller skates, you understand? Roller skates by Steel Pulse. And remember to celebrate yourself, even if you feel like you have no reason for it. Because the moment you start to celebrate yourself, you will find a reason to celebrate yourself. The moment you practice gratitude, you will find things to be grateful for. You see, Robin? You see, Spirit? You're a blessing too. Isabel, you're a blessing. You're touching me too. So conquering lions, just know who you are. And I have to hop off. I hope to talk to more of you next time. Next time I'll play in the RE, I promise, right? I'll just make a request and I'll play it. So I'm sending you lots of peace, lots of love, lots of victory. And see you soon. Yes, Tony. Enough blessings, yeah? One love. Know that peace doesn't come when everything is perfect. That when there's imperfection and you embody peace, that's what brings peace. You get me? Yeah, man. Peace and love, people. One love. 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 One love.